So we are going to get into the last session today of our summer series. So we've gone through 6 sessions now. This is the last one, so it's the series wrap up, and I am flying solo on camera today. I have some of my great teammates in the chat for you guys here, so we can get your questions answered, whether I know it or they know it. We'll get you taken care of here. I'm pretty sure everybody that's in here right now I have met before, but I am Andrea. I'm the Senior Manager of Google Services and Solutions here at Trifera, which basically means a fancy word for a Google consultant. So I'm the one that you're going to see and hear from a lot when you guys are working through your workspace licenses and then on webinars like this. A lot of posts from me in the Google Central Collaborative. Um, so yeah, one way or another, we're going to be friends. So you'll see me a lot. um, like I said, this is our 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I had to make sure I was right on that. Our 6th session here. We've had a lot of issues with Meet through this whole series. So the live prompting recording, we talked about this on the last session. It did not record nicely for us. So Kristen and I are going to be recording that for you guys later this afternoon. So I'll get that recording up for you. But all of these recordings, slide decks, resources are all going to be available for you on the Google Central platform, as well as linked in this deck. So that way you guys can watch them as you get to them. But as far as for today, I'm going to be recapping the series for you. And then this is really an open forum Q&A for you guys. So while I'm going through the recap of the series, I'm going to be talking about the questions that we got regarding those sessions or that came up during those sessions or from the emails that you guys had sent me yesterday with your questions and kind of slotted those into the relevant sessions. So we'll go through those. But again, in the chat, if you hear me talking about things and you have questions, you can ask those at any time. I do have some time at the end just for some quick Q&A if I miss anybody, but do not be afraid to interrupt me while I'm going through this. That way we can get your guys' questions answered. The recording for this one and then all of the rest of the recordings are on our Google Central platform. So where you guys went to register for this, there's a Control Alt Summer forum that you'll see on the left that has all of these recordings and the slide decks too. All right. I'm going to get into the recap. You're going to see it bouncing back and forth so I can let people in. But our very first session was the Get to Know GAM7 session. And guys, let me tell you, I spent 2 hours last night trying to do some simple GAM commands, testing some of the questions that you guys had. And I about threw my Chromebook downstairs. So I don't think that GAM and I are going to be friends at any point in time of my life. We might be acquaintances that I wave to while I go to Joe and Alex, who seem to be besties with GAM to get this done. But so if you are not a GAM person like me, or maybe you are a GAM bestie, apologies for that. But our very first session, we did just a high level of getting to know GAM. So how to get started, some of the basic commands that you guys would use for over the summer. And then that kind of pre-worked a little bit early access for our GAM workshop that followed right after that. That GAM workshop is a deeper dive into how to use GAM, some of the more advanced things you would do for that, setting up automations and things like that. If you did not get a chance to go to the GAM workshop that was back in May, we have another one coming up on September 15th. This is a free GAM workshop to all of our Google Central Plus customers as well as our support customers. If you are not either one of those, you can purchase a seat to this, and I do have the link in there. I'm hoping that it did it. If somebody tell me if it doesn't, because it shows for me. I did link this slide deck in the chat for you, so that way you can have the link for this. What I will say, because I've had this conversation with a couple of people already about the Google Central Plus, is Google Central Plus gets you access to our paid workshops for free. So while you can obviously pay for seats individually to these different workshops, boot camps, level 1, level 2, some of the GC 360 we're going to talk about in a little bit. If more than one person on your team wants to come to those, it is cheaper for you just to buy a Google Central Plus membership. Google Central Plus is $300 for your entire support team, or I'm sorry, your tech team, your instructional team. It's basically $300 for anybody in your domain. Whereas I believe just a single seat is $159 for the most part for most of those. So you can get one seat, you can get Google Central Plus, and you can all come to them, and you can come to our following ones. So it's just something to keep in mind for you there. Um, but that GAM workshop will be a paid event, and you're able to come to that on the 15th if you'd like. The big thing that came out of the GAM 7 workshop, or I'm sorry, the GAM 7 Get to Know You, is Gemini is your friend for the prompts. I will say that from last night, from all the troubleshooting, Gemini did help me an awful lot when it came to figuring out like errors that I was getting during the setup of the Cloud Shell, or trying to figure out what prompt I needed to do whatever it was I was trying to do. So lean into Gemini if it's something that's quick, or if you don't have the different resources up to find those GAM commands. Gemini is what you want there. Some of the questions that we got around GAM was the command for removing licenses. So I popped that license that GAM command for you there for the licenses. We got a lot of questions around archiving. I'm going to come back to that in a second. But then finding suspended users, you are able to query with GAM. So whether you want to query with the suspended, just to find your suspended, if you want to do that for archived, that command is pretty generic. You'll just flip that is suspended equals true to is archived is true, is active is true, things like that if you're trying to query your domain. Now, the best way to archive users, this has come up an awful lot, and I'll talk about this a little bit more later as to why. But I linked the slide that we had in here for this because it's kind of a multi-step process for you guys there. The easiest way to archive somebody, if you're going to get that list, is to query your list of users first for your CSV. Suspended is probably 95% of the things that I've heard people say, like, I want to just go ahead and bulk archive anybody that's been in a suspended state. Print your is suspended, do a little massaging of that data if you need to, and then you can use this GAM command to bulk archive. Now, I have had a couple people reach out to me and say that this is failing, that they just can't use GAM or even the CSV upload to archive. I did verify this last night. I did have Alex help me with GAM because I couldn't get it either. Just make sure that that command that you're using is archived with the D. So it's not just archive, it's got to be the full archived is what it's looking for. It's super specific, it's very annoying. But archiving is a user state change. Okay, so you need to be trying to archive that email address, not just assign the archived license. It's very confusing with the way that Google lines it out, but it is a license or Andrea. It is a user state change to archive your users. All right. I believe that was it. If there's no more GAM questions, like I said, I'm going to keep it rolling. But for GAM, those were the main questions that we got about that. I'm going to talk more about licensing with the suspended and the users and all that stuff in just a little bit. But those were the ones that came up for GAM. Next, we had our Trails demo. So Trails is our lessons plan generator that that my girls with my education team created. This is obviously more for your teachers. So this is where they can use Trails to generate lesson plans based off of your state requirements, based off of certain technology standards, but also take into account your students themselves and their learning needs, as well as the technology that's available to you. So super cool. I'm not gonna get into Trails because I will go down a rabbit hole playing with it, but I do have some documentation linked in here as to how it works, what it looks like. This is something that is free to our Trafera customers. So if you do any business with Trafera, your Chromebooks, your workspace licenses, your Microsoft licenses, interactive flat panels, anything, this is free to you. If you are not a customer of ours yet, you do have a free 7-day trial that are available to you. But super cool. Like I said, I love this tool very much. Um, Yes, Anna's in the chat. If you guys have any questions about this, she was one that did this demo for us. You reach out to her. The couple questions that we did get around Trails was, does it allow you to edit your lesson plans within Trails? And as of right now, it does not. You generate your lesson plan, you get it to where you want it, and then you can export it. You can't re-upload it and say, hey, by the way, I really want it to do XYZ. And you can't upload existing lesson plans that you maybe created with something else. Those things are in the works, but right now it's a build it and you download it and you get what you get. However, there are some things you can still do. So you can drop that download into Gemini. Trails is powered by Gemini, so you have that flexibility there. And that interoperability, I think, is the word that I want to use there. Question mark on that. My coffee's only half gone. But you have that ability to use Gemini to build off of what you build in Trails. So any of those additional changes you want to make, if you downloaded it as a assignment and you're like, hey, you want to know what? I really want a quiz built off of this too. Gemini can help expand that for you. So a lot of things you can do with it. There's a lot more things that we want to build into it. But if you have questions while you're using it, or you're like, hey, I just need to know, can I do this, or this isn't working, or I can't get into the platform, that education team or Anna can help you get that squared away for you. All right. Live prompting. This was the one where the recording did not like to work with us, and I was very irritated by it because it was the one I probably had one of the most fun with. Um, was Kristen talking about mastering prompting. So mastering how to prompt with Gemini, creating those custom gems. And we did talk about Notebook LM a little bit. So the parts framework here, I think, is what really kind of made it click for me, because I talked to Gemini and I did it this morning. I was like, hey, I need XYZ, period. Because in my head, I know exactly what I'm wanting to know, but I'm not really good at like saying what I need. So the parts framework that she talked to us about made a lot more sense as far as how to prompt, just to make it a full statement instead of maybe a quarter and the rest of it being in my brain. So that persona, what you want it to do, who is it for, the theme, and then the structure. So hearing that makes it a lot better. Now, do I talk to my Gem? Her name is Aubrey. She is one of my personalities. Uh, in the full parts framework all the time? Absolutely not. But I think we're getting a lot better, so that way the output is better. So I'm not constantly tweaking it or saying, okay, now take out this, add this type of a thing that way for you. So that worked better. Like I said, that recording won't have back for you guys later. And then my Aubrey gem, because when you're creating custom gems, you have to use a lot of that framework to make it. I had no idea how to talk to Gemini to say, build this custom gem because I needed to do this. And then my coworker at the time was like, ask Gemini to do it. Like, tell Gemini this is what you want this gem to do, and it will help you prompt exactly what you have to make and put into Gemini to create that custom gem. So I think the theme that we're getting to, at the risk of starting the war of AI versus human, is Gemini really is helpful when it comes to figuring out or helping you figure out how to talk to it. So lean into Gemini where it makes sense for you there. Some of the questions, and I don't know why it keeps flipping back and forth between full screen. Just hang in there with me. The question that we got on that is, with data privacy laws that Gemini abides by, and that list of data privacy that it abides by is lengthy, let me tell you. Is it safe to put names in there when using like the help me write to emails? And I'm going to say no. So that golden rule is to never put PII in any public facing AI tool. Okay. Use those generic placeholders. Now, while Gemini data is never used for learning, it's never going outside your domain. It's still best practice not to put names in there. I will like if you're trying to write that email, just like I said, placeholder of student name, parent name, so and so's name, put a fake name in there, and then you're able to edit that later before you actually send it out. But golden rule is never put PII in a public facing AI tool there for you. Okay. The Great Summer Rollover. I'm going to take a drink of coffee before this one because this is where a lot of the questions came in, and this is where we're going to talk a lot about licensing. Okay. The Great Summer Rollover was earlier this month. And it's where we covered the best practices for rolling over for the summer. So your accounts, your licensing, Chromebooks, classroom, getting them all cleaned up from last year and ready to roll for this summer or for this school year. Sorry. And then we also had looked at Workspace Studio and seeing how automations there can help make this process better for you, maybe take over some of it for you. But definitely throughout the school year, those automations to make your summer clean over less of a hassle, I should say that way. We had quite a bit of questions about the licensing aspect on this one. So I'm gonna go through some of these, and this is where if you guys are still having questions about that, because I know I'm talking to a lot of you about your renewals right now, pop them in the chat. This question made me laugh out loud. Is there still no way to delete deprovision Chromebooks? And I don't know why we have to keep deprovision Chromebooks in our admin console, but there is still no way to remove them. So they're going to be there for the rest of our lives, probably as placeholders for us to look back on and laugh, but they stay. You can't get rid of them for right now. Um, this next question is one that I get an awful lot as far as for the licensing. When do you archive somebody versus suspend somebody? I don't understand the difference. And I do think this is one where it's a mind shift change and it's one that I think a lot of us still struggle with. Um, but then now Google has added some ramifications into them. So the easiest way that I can break this down for you is going to be this. So if you have somebody that's left your district, they're not coming back. They've either retired, they've moved on, they've graduated, they are gone. They are not coming back. That is when you want to put them in an archived state. In that archived state, their data that has been shared with anybody else in your district is still accessible. So that data retention is still there. Their account is still there for legal hold. So if you're legally required to keep accounts for 3, 5, 7 years, that's still there. So all of your vault rules still apply. All of your data privacy rules still apply. Um, but that frees up your fundamentals license. So that's where that archive license gets in there. But you do not have to buy a plus or standard license for somebody in an archived state. So this is where it's coming in a lot on your renewals. That is one of your free license types. Okay. So if that person, like I said, is not coming back, it's that parking lot before you would delete them. That's when you would archive somebody. A suspended user is somebody who is a short-term temporary leave. Okay. You expect them to come back that school year. It's just that long-term leave, medical leave, just suspension, things like that. That's when they're in the suspended state. That still requires a fundamentals license. All of their data is still accessible. So all of the vault rules, all of your data rules, all your security rules still apply to them. But that one requires a fundamentals license, and that one will require a plus or standard license. Okay. So that one you have to pay for. That one keeps that fundamentals out of your pool. So it comes down to whether they're here, but maybe in a timeout, or they are gone, but you have to keep them and and if they need a license or not. Those are the two. That's the easiest way I could break that down for you. If that doesn't make sense, let me know. But that's in a nutshell when you would use each one. When we're talking about licensing for fundamentals, uh, archived, or Gmail only, Gmail only is your third free license type. Okay. Um, Gmail only is your license type that gives a person access to Gmail, Calendar, and Meet. Those are the three things that they get access to. There's no driver docs access. This is also one where it does not take up a fundamentals license, and you do not have to buy a plus or standard license for it. So the question was, if there's accounts that I have that are just really for general email purposes. So they're a service account for your copiers, or they are a service account for your apps, but all they need is an email address. So that way they get those email for that inbox. That's a use case for Gmail only for you. If they need driver docs access, that's where you have to keep that fundamentals on them. Okay. That's really the differentiator for that Gmail only if you're using those for your custodians and your bus drivers and your cafeteria staff, which are great use cases for Gmail only, is if they need driver docs. Um, that's gonna be your differentiator there for you. The question is, I am having issues moving users from email to our plus licenses as they move to a new class. Becky, so when we were testing the archiving of users earlier this morning, I noticed that too. So you have to move a Gmail only to fundamentals first before you're able to do any of the other actions. I don't know if that's by design. I don't know that I remember that that was the case last year. So I'm gonna ask our Google rep about that one because I thought it was a pretty like smooth transition of just flipping it. But you might need to be moving your Gmail only back to fundamentals first, and then you can either assign your plus license or archive it. You cannot archive a Gmail only license first. Doesn't make sense to me, but that means nothing for this moment. But I am going to ask though because it's a weird two-step process at that point. Um, the other question is, do I really need to buy a plus license for all of my staff and students? Yes. Google has started auditing domains when we put those orders in, whether it's a renewal for plus or standard or a new order for plus or standard. The orders team is going to be looking at your fundamental license usage. So that's where they're going to look and see how many users have logged in and actively used Google with that fundamentals license attached to it. Um, and I have had them deny orders or kick them back until the school bought the appropriate amount or did their proper cleanup. Um, the bus drivers and et cetera can have fundamentals licenses if they need that drive and docs access, but you will need to purchase a plus or standard license for them. So it's they're cracking down on that license management, unfortunately. So this is where it's gonna really kind of force you guys to do that account cleanup. So archiving those people who are really gone, using that Gmail only if you have the use cases for them that don't need drive and docs, but just email, and then deleting accounts essentially. So that way, I have a lot of districts that don't delete accounts ever because I've never really had to, and I get that, right? But putting together a full lifecycle management for your accounts is going to be key going forward. So that way these type of situations don't happen. If they need fundamentals, they need fundamentals. This is not a way for me to say, hey, you need to pick and choose who gets to use Google. But when you come to your paid licenses now, this is where that's going to come into play of if you have to pay for a plus or standard license for them. So absolutely. Yep. All right. So this question, I have seen this come up quite a bit on the renewals too. So they are making the change from reassigning the staff license for plus or standard, that is what's going away. Everyone will be using just one single plus or standard license at your renewal. And they're getting messages like this. Now, you'll see messages like this as well in other scenarios. Basically, what this is saying is that you're out of plus licenses, or standard licenses. It'll tell you obviously right here. It says, and I don't think you can see my. Oh, you can't see my mouse. Your education plus license here. So, couple ways to fix this. I am gonna flip to the admin console for this one. Let it look at my face and see if it recognizes me. All right. Under billing and subscriptions, this is where you're able to see all of the subscriptions that you guys have, how many are available, and how many are assigned. This is where up at the top, you would see this error message, right? If you guys are running out of licenses or you are going to run out of licenses, this is what this yellow one is. The red one means that you're already out and it's taking licenses away from people when it tries to add somebody new. Um, the best way to get these lists of people who are assigned these licenses so that way you can either clean them up if you need to or just see who has them is coming over here. There should see under plus or the staff one if you're trying to reassign your staff licenses. You should be able to click on the number of assigned. This is going to pop over to the users portion of the admin console and filter for that license that's assigned. So from here, if you don't want to pop back and forth, you can just update this filter of licenses that are assigned. So that way you can see who has the individual licenses that you need. Now, I'm gonna look at this real quick and make sure it's not gonna make me a liar because it made me a liar the other day. If you needed to clean these up, like let's say, hey, these guys they've never been here, they need to actually become archived. No, let me stop that. You can't not archive. That's a bad example. If they needed to become fundamentals only for right now until you guys figured out what you needed to do there. When you go to assign your licenses, you can do this drop down as for your Gmail only or your fundamentals. You can flip that to what you need. They already have this one. Um, so you can come to plus. These guys, I think I filtered on staff. Yes, so these guys will already have it. Flip to other plus license and then assign. These guys can get reassigned to that. They'll be all right. But you'll be able to bulk change your licenses that way for your plus. The reason I say archived is that you cannot bulk change account status from here. This is what we thought Google was going to be adding, and it's not here at this point. So you'll have to do it either using GAM or the bulk CSV option. But as far as changing from your staff licenses to your main plus or standard licenses, you would be able to do that in bulk here. And again, that is just from coming up under billing and then subscriptions and then being able to click on the number of assigned licenses that you have is how it gets you to that screen. Okay. Um, is there any more licensing questions from anybody before I keep us rolling? I think I covered the main ones that people have asked for, or if I missed one, let me know. Okay. This was not a question, but somebody had sent in. It's a tool that helps do your summer cleanup, and it's actually extremely cool when I'm looking at it. Um, they use Gemini to create it, but it's a way for you to come through and update your Chromebooks, wipe your profiles, which is something that was really big that people were doing, um, disabling devices and things like that. There's a ton of information in here. If you are familiar with Gopher for Chrome or Chromebook inventory, there was a Chromebook Getter, I think, at one point in time too. This is very similar to that, and free for you here. So, um, this is linked in that tool for you guys to, or in that deck for you guys to have access to. Thank you for sharing this. I love this. This makes me very happy. Um, but that's in here as well. All right. Moving on to um the yes, this was the last one that we did that we did last week, the firewall. Let me bring this and hopefully not break nothing for you. Yeah. Um the human firewall. So this was a security session that Corey helped us out with last week. And he went over a ton, and I put it into this a smaller recap because there was quite a lot. But he went over the domain and identity hardening, data privacy and AI, some phishing, and then that human aspect of security. So how we play a part in the security of your domain. So he is offering to help with a free phishing assessment. So I dropped his email in the chat if you got that's something that you guys are interested in. Um, that will be available for you guys there. We had just 2 questions based off of that one. Um, I was not aware of this, and I think I laughed when I had to find it for him. Um, but you can put your Chromebook battery into a storage mode, and there's a ton of benefits of this, right? But this also helps it to where that device can't be turned on. So if somebody were to walk with it and try to get into your accounts that way, it kind of prevents it, at least from a device standpoint, right? So there's I linked the steps in here on how to put that battery in storage mode. So on top of the security aspect of it, just really saving that hardware, since we know that batteries are something that go, I'll say probably the not the quickest, but they do go pretty quick, but they do take forever to get if you guys are doing your repairs in-house. And then what does zero trust mean in elementary terms? And I had to ask him this as well because I don't know that I hear enough about what zero trust means in a way that makes sense to me. So, in the simplest of terms, zero trust means that you are granted access only to what you need and nothing more. So, um, when he said that to me, I bucked against it because I do remember having this conversation while I was in a school about our super admin accounts being separate from our everyday accounts, or I need to be able to run this report, but I don't have access for it. So now I have to ask somebody else for it. Um, very annoying, but obviously, as for security and keeping everything secure in a very um, hacker friendly security risk type of an environment that we live in these days, it does make sense. So that's what zero trust means. Basically, getting access to the things that you need and nothing more. So not the full keys to the kingdom or the full keys to your wing of the kingdom, just really what you need. So, all right. I think we covered all of the emails that I got with the questions. Any questions about anything else that either we covered in our sessions, we didn't cover in our sessions, issues you're coming up with right now, anything you guys have for me that way? The links for these recordings will get posted probably tomorrow. I'll be able to post the recording for this as well as the re-record that Kristen and I are going to do on the live prompting will be tomorrow. Mhm. Awesome. All right. So then what's next? Just real quick. So this series is over. We are still around for you guys. If you guys have any questions, you can pop them in Google Central. You can reach out to me. You can reach out to Joe. Um, but our next series is what we're calling GC 360. So it's going to be a 6-month mastery series. This was based off of a request that we got from a school district, um, going over almost like a deep dive of the things that we go through in our boot camps in our level 1, level 2. So each session will talk specifically about a certain topic. So, um, I had it up and then I deleted it or I closed it, but it would be around like context aware. It would be around setting up like the Gmail sandbox. So think of those individual topics that we go over in the basics, but you just want to explore a little bit more. How does it apply to you and your district? So on top of that tactical deep dive that we're going to be doing on that topic and that Q&A, it's really that peer-to-peer um collaboration that you're going to get with these sessions. So it is a 6-month series. There's to be 12 sessions, so it's twice a month. And the goal here is that everybody that comes to these, like I said, are going to be that collaboration. So you're going to get the knowledge and the mastery, but also that knowledge share of how that affects you guys, whether it's, you know, you're at an elementary school, you're at a high school, you're at a private school, you're at, so that way it takes into account how you can apply these settings to your individual needs. So this is something that is coming exclusively to our Google Central Plus customers. So that's that paid version of Google Central. And our support customers, you get Google Central Plus. So this is something that's available to you. That kicks off next month. So August 7th is going to be the kickoff for that. There's going to be more details that we get posted um in the collaborative based off of this, but this is our next series that we're going to be rolling for you. Our admin briefings are going to continue. That'll be next month as well. Probably whatever that Thursday is right before that. And like I said, Google Central that way. So I'm gonna give you guys some time back if there's no other questions. But like I said, this recording and the other one will be up for tomorrow as well as this deck. If you guys have questions, don't be afraid to reach out. And otherwise, thanks for hanging out with us this summer, and we will talk to you guys later. Thanks. Robert just left. Okay.